Today I'm going to show you how to fix this oven controller board for a Maytag range. And the issue that the customer was experiencing was that they had the F3 and F5 error codes. The part number, which is on the tag at the top, reads 7601P432-60. So let's go ahead and bench test it and see if we can recreate the F3 and F5 error codes. So we'll plug it in. So let's go ahead and turn the oven on. I just heard my relay click, and I'm not seeing any error codes so far. Let's flip it back over. Next, we'll do a continuity check. So with my multimeter in continuity mode, I get a beep when I get continuity, and we have a reading on the meter. Let's make sure that our relay is getting continuity, and we do have it. Let's go ahead and cancel. And we no longer have continuity. We'll try it one more time. We'll do oven this time, bake 350, no continuity. Let's wait a second. Okay, it just clicked and we get continuity. And we still don't have any error codes. Okay, let's cancel. Next, I'm gonna remove this sensor I installed, which mimics the temperature probe. And we're gonna try again. And sure enough, we have our F3. An F3 error code indicates an issue with the temperature sensor. Now, it is possible for the temperature sensor to actually have failed and be defective. However, it is more common for there to be an issue between the communication of the controller and the temperature sensor. So what I mean by that is there are connections here where the sensor plugs into that can fail and cause that error code to trigger. So let's open up the unit and take a closer look. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nick. I started Nick's Electronics Repair over a decade ago, and since then have fixed hundreds of these oven controller boards. We'll flip the board over and take a look at our solder joints. For this step, we're going to switch over to the microscope. And right here is the back of the connector that our sensor plugs into. As you can see, there is a bit of a ring that's forming around all of these joints. And if we zoom in a little bit more, we'll really see that there is actually separation between the joint and the pin. So I'm physically pushing on the pin on the backside right now, and you can see that that pin is actually moving or able to move within that joint, which means there is full separation of the pin from the connection. So when that happens, of course, the controller board can no longer detect or communicate with the temperature sensor, which is why we get that F3 error code. Next, we're going to bring our attention to some of our other connections over here. And these connections are the high voltage lines for the power to connect to the controller. Those can also fail with cracked joints. Next, here we have our transformer pins, which can also fail for the same reason. And actually, we're starting to see that on some of those pins. Now, when these connections on the transformer fail, they actually will cause a completely dead no power symptom. Yeah, look at this one. We're definitely starting to see some cracking, severe cracking over here. It's not on 100% of the joint. I think we still have a little bit of a connection here, but if we don't address that, then it will get worse and fully fail in the near future. Also, we're starting to see some fracturing and some stress, but not full failures yet. So if you have a completely dead no power controller board issue, then it can be that your transformer has those severe cracked joints, and that will have to be reflowed. And finally, we're going to be looking at our relay joints. Now, if the relay has cracked joints, then it means that we have a baking or broil element not getting to temperature. And same thing, we're really starting to see a lot of severe stress right here. So again, it's not a full separation, not a full crack on the joints, but we're very close to that. This one looks a little bit better, but we're still seeing a lot of stress. See, what about this one? Looks okay. That looks okay, I guess. And same thing, it looks okay, but there's definitely obviously signs of stress right here and right over here as well. But again, we have good connection right here on this side and on this side. So it's not an immediate concern, but if we don't address it, we're going to have issues in the very near future. This one's really bad, however. Now, this one, if we look at it and follow it, it goes to this pin here, which is our broil element. So most likely, if we were to not address those cracked joints, I would guess that the broil element or the broil feature would stop working next. After seeing that damage, I can confirm with very high certainty that even though we weren't able to fully recreate it in the moment, the F3 or F5 failures, those cracked solder joints are certainly the issue that the customer was experiencing. So we're gonna start by reflowing all of those joints. And I'm gonna start by adding flux. We're gonna be doing the connector first. This is the J1 connector. And I'm gonna add just a little bit fresh new solder as well. All right, perfect. Next we'll do our relay over here. Same process, we're adding some flux first. Perfect. Next, we'll go ahead and reflow the high voltage connector. And even though they don't have any immediate cracks or signs of stress, we have seen these crack due to that stress. So preemptively, we're just going to start with the reflow on these so that once we finish up this repair, we know we're going to have years of functionality and not some other failure in the near future. All right, beautiful. Next, we'll tackle our transformer joints. Now, this one is a no connect, I believe, so there's not technically a need for us to reflow it. But I do believe that by reflowing it, we're actually offering a little bit more support to the transformer. And so I do believe that it actually does have an impact, although not direct, an indirect impact on the longevity of the board. If you have a defective oven controller board that you would like to send in for us to fix, we do offer flat rate services, which come with a 1-year warranty, and those are available on our website, which I will link in the video description down below. All right, we've left a lot of flux residue. We're gonna go ahead and use a cotton swab and isopropyl alcohol to clean that off and remove as much of it as we can. All right, I just finished up the cleanup. Next, we're gonna be looking at our capacitors, as well as the wired connections over here that connect the top and the bottom board to one another. So on the back side, and looking at them again with the microscope, we will also notice some very severe stress marks over here. And this is looking like it's affecting the majority of these. Let's look at this side. Really zoom in on this one. So this one actually looks really good. I don't see any stress marks that are concerning at this time. And if we go over to the next, so on this side, we're still okay. Okay, we're starting to see a little bit of fracturing over here on the right side and here. That one's good. Oh, this one looks really bad over here, really bad. If not addressed, this is gonna be an issue. Same over here a little bit, tiny little bit here, and that's it. Let's flip over to the other side. Yeah, we're also seeing a lot of stress right here. Oh, this one's pretty bad as well. Now, I'm noticing a little bit of solder here. I don't know if the customer tampered with it or tried to solder it themselves at some point, but that was not us. Okay, same thing here, a lot of stress. This one looks okay. And we already looked at, no, we haven't looked at these two. This one's okay, a little bit of signs of stress. This one's definitely got a little bit more stress here. And these we've already looked at. Same process, we're gonna be adding flux to all of the joints. And these were fine, but again, we're gonna reflow them preventatively. And finally, we're going to be replacing our capacitors. Now, the capacitors don't have typically an immediate fault that we should be concerned about, But same thing, they do tend to fail over time. They do have a shelf life. And so it's one of those, if we don't do it now, they will fail in the near future type of situations. Usually what will happen is they'll start leaking and oozing out electrolytic fluid, which then causes corrosion and damages the board quite a bit. And usually we'll have to do trace damage in that situation, which can be a lot of extra work. So I'm just using my desolder wick here. And, so we can see as I'm wiggling it, we still have, the pad is still attached. Okay, there we go. Now it's detached. And so now that it's loose, we can just wiggle it out. Now the first two I just removed are both rated for 470 microfarad, 16 volts. And of course we're replacing them with equivalents. These are very high-end, expensive capacitors with over 10,000 hours lifetime rated. You definitely want to use high-quality capacitor for these types of devices. If you have a defective oven controller board that you would like to send in for us to fix, we do offer flat rate services which come with a 1-year warranty, and those are available on our website, which I will link in the video description down below. And our third capacitor we're going to be removing is over here. This one is a 100 microfarad, 50 volt rated one. We're not going to be replacing the very large one, just the smaller ones. The very large one I have actually never seen go bad. I don't know what the difference is or the reason why that is, but because we have never seen it go bad, we don't believe that it is necessary for it to be replaced. However, the smaller ones do tend to fail and have those leaks that we were talking about earlier. And that most likely has something to do with how it's used in the circuit. So again, this one is 100 microfarad, 50 volts. Now, in my experience, the C8 and C9, those are the two that most commonly will fail and have the electrolytic fluid start to leak and cause that corrosion that we were talking about. So it's those two right there. Now it's more rare for C5 to fail, but we've also seen it fail before. Just the C1, this very large one, that's the one we've not once seen it fail. If you do purchase our repair kits, we do include it in the repair kit just in case, but we don't really think it's 100% necessary to replace that one, just the 3 smaller ones. And if you are to purchase one of our repair kits, we do include the larger capacitor just in case. But again, in our experience, and our experience is many hundreds, I think it's in the possibly 1,000. I don't have an exact count. It might be just under 1,000. I'm not 100% sure, but it is based on a very large sample size that we've never seen that larger capacitor go out. Usually it's one of these smaller ones. All right, let's go ahead and do a final cleanup and then we'll do another bench test. All right, final testing. So I've already plugged in my sensor. I've plugged in the board. We'll go ahead and set the oven temperature, 350. Same thing, we're in continuity mode again. And I just heard it click. We do have continuity. Let's go ahead and do the broil. And it clicked off and no continuity. Just clicked on and we have continuity. So just to recap, we did reflow all of the connections. So the J1 connector, the spade connectors where the high power voltage comes in and out of the board. We reflowed the transformer, we reflowed the relay, and all of the wires that connect the top and the bottom board to one another. So that's 5 different things we reflowed. We also replaced the 3 smaller capacitors on the board, and that is going to complete our repair. So this will most commonly fix the F3 error code, the completely dead, no power fault, and the issues with the oven not reaching temperature, with the broiling element not reaching temperature, or not turning on at all. So that does complete it. If you found the video helpful or useful, make sure to leave us a like, subscribe for more content, and thank you for watching.